Hello, hello, welcome back to Sharing Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here today. I'm your host, Angie Wisdom, and we have a special guest literally in the house, my house. We're filming live from my house today, and Keven Stirdivant is here to join us. He is owner of Case Real Estate. He is entrepreneur, inspirator, man of many things, investor. So Keven, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I love being here.
You're the first one to actually be in the house doing this podcast. Yeah.
What?
How crazy
I'm so honored.
Yeah. I thought it would be fun to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's the coolest house around, and you're the coolest coach around.
Oh.
So anytime you shoot me a message and I'm in, right? And you mentioned something before you even start telling me what it is, I'm in, because I know that the intention is to uplift, to inspire, to make a difference for others, which is right in line with my passion. So I'm always in, Angie.
Thanks, Kev. And it is so true. I don't even have to explain to you what's going on. You're like, yeah, I'm in. What time? What time? Let's rock it.
Yeah,
I always
let's go. Let's go. I'll be there.
So here we are. And that's why I wanted to bring you in here, because you are that master of inspiration, of hope, of faith, so many different things that people look up to you for. I know a lot of the people who followed me and worked with me have come through you, and not even being in real estate, just going, this guy is inspirational. Like he inspires me to be better. I don't know how he does it. He's got all these kids. He's got this company. He's got all these agents. And,
got all these kids.
And he's still doing it. I always get that. He's got all these kids. How many kids does he have, people say?
Gosh. Technically, if you include my daughter-in-law, because I have a daughter-in-law now. My oldest son is married. I have 6 kids. Yeah. You know, so I have 5 of my own, and all ages, whatever kind of age you want, I've got that one covered. So I've got my daughter Eliana, the baby, she's like 19 months. Mm-hmm. Then I have my daughter 7, she's 4 years old. Then I have my daughter Azella, and then I have Kaizen and Eli. So Azella is 14. I don't know what we're talking about. Azella is 11. Kaizen is 14. Eli is 22.
See, I was wondering, you left out those couple last ages, and I'm like, did he forget how old the older ones are? It happens.
It's crazy.
That is a full house.
It is. Yeah. Last night we got to have dinner with Eli and Malia, and that was really special. You know, we don't get that as much, so it was amazing. Like, I came home from a crazy day. Tuesdays I go to LA. And, you know, it's a lot going to LA and then the drive home. But it's really important for me to like shut it off and then be present to them, you know, because, that's everything. That's what we work for.
Absolutely.
And so it was so cool to just come home, and my wife made this crazy sushi dinner. We did sushi night, and I was just like, you know, almost choked up just seeing 7 and Eliana playing. And then Kaizen's over here laughing with Eli and my daughter-in-law, and then my daughter Azella, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, you know.
It's pretty special, and your wife is just
superhero wife who's just making it all work.
That's the question I always get too, where they're like, oh, Kevin's so inspirational.
She is more inspiring in person than even on social. So on social, I get it. She shows all this stuff. But in person, see, the difference with social that people don't see, that I see, and that we all know in real life, is social, you only get the highlight reel.
Right.
So people don't see the migraines that she gets. People don't see the back pains that she has. People don't see some of the challenges that she has from what we went through with Eliana, right? And how she still carries some of that. So that's why I say my wife's even more inspiring in person.
Yes, yeah, she is. And I remember not too long ago, she posted kind of a series of pictures and events showing some of the struggles of, you know, just, I forget, you know, which child it was. It was probably Eliana, right? Yeah. Of like having some difficulties and showing real life, which I think is important too, because you two can be perceived as this like, wow, everything is perfect. Like, man, they have it so dialed in. I don't know how they do it.
This is the first summer in like 5 years, maybe more. No, maybe 7 years. We did our Oahu trip for the first time, I think in 2017, 18. We've always gone. This was the first summer that we didn't go. And mainly it's because we're in a season now that we've never experienced with Eliana. And we're starting to feel that, I think, because of the way Eliana came into the world, you know, she was born, complications, straight into ICU, to living in a Chalk Hospital for a month, her almost having to do this surgery. She came into the world in right away fighting. And that fight energy, she definitely still has.
Still going on.
Yeah, and I call it a high level intentionality that she has. She is committed to living a certain way. And when she does not have that, it is a fight. Like she literally will just grab onto us and just scratch us sometimes. And so we're experiencing that. And so like this, we're using our RV more. Our Sprinter. We're like, you know, we'll just get in the RV and let's drive north.
Safer. Okay, I have to point out, anybody who's watching, like people ask me how to change your mindset all the time. Cognitive reframing, you all. Like what Keven just did when you said, I call it, you know, what did you say, intentionality?
Yeah, she has high level intentionality.
That instead of
she wants something and she's gonna fight for it. That's how she came into this world. You know, and she's powerful.
So reframing that optimism right there, that's what it is. And it's going to create some major greatness one day.
I agree. No, without a doubt. I'm so blessed, so grateful. And it's interesting. I was kind of relating the thought about my daughter today with how I think some people need to reframe the situation of the market, the economy, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, I think some people, especially in the industry that I'm in, which is real estate, it's like they're waiting for this time of this unicorn year that we had called 2021, where if you had a listing, you were a straight up celebrity in 2021. And there were multiple offers, you didn't have to do anything, and it was just, and I think some people might be still holding on to that, like wondering if that's gonna come back. And I was thinking about it on my run this morning, that like, waiting for that to hopefully one day maybe come back is like waiting for this time when my daughter might not be throwing these fits or crying. There's no knowing that that's ever going to happen. All we have is right here, right now. And the question is, how are we going to be in that moment? You know, like imagine how lame that would be if I acted that way towards my daughter. Let me know when you're done with this like crying season. I'll be back.
And but you're spot on. You know, people go through that in these challenging times. They kind of tap out because John Maxwell, you ever follow him and listen to him, you know, he talks about whether you're winging it or whether you're working it.
Nice.
And, you know, this winging it is like, well, you can get by when things are good and you can just go with the flow and you can do things and things might be okay, but really working it, like through this season, agents are going to have to really work it. They're going to have to show 100%. Up and do the hard work. And that's one of the things I find fascinating about you, and people ask me about, because we've coached together, they'll ask me like, how does Keven do it? You know, and how does he do those hard things he doesn't want to do? You are relentless about showing up every single day and doing your prospecting after years, or having the hard conversations. There's a lot you maybe don't want to do or don't feel like doing. How do you push through that and just take that action?
You know, I think a lot of the passion and discipline that I have to do the hard work is from the other side that I've seen. So if you don't know the bigger pain, you're going to avoid the smaller pain, right? Like I call the pain, the pain of prospecting, the pain of waking up at 4:47, the pain of, it's not painful anymore to be sober, but in the beginning, it was really difficult. All those things, I have a higher pain, right? With my sobriety, I have the pain of almost losing my family. I have the pain of actually losing family members. My father drank himself literally to death. Right? Like I have a pain that's so big, it makes the discipline a bit easier. The pain of prospecting for me is nothing because I know the pain of what it's like to be at a grocery store and write a check and have them tell you on the spot that they can't cash your check because it's been in your system that you bounced a check before. I have the pain of being at home with my family and seeing the Southern California Edison person walking in my backyard to shut off the electricity. I have that pain. So the pain of showing up and knocking out my calls, I will run through a wall. I will climb the tallest mountain. I am not waiting for 3% interest rates to come back. You know what I mean? I'm prepared for the whole thing to crash. And I'm not even afraid of that because I've been there before. You know, I know what it's like to live in a home without any electricity on. I know what it's like to try to warm my house up using the oven. Not many people can say they've gone through that in this luxury community that we're working, where that's like, you can't talk about that stuff. We're here, everybody's supposed to act like everything's perfect and you got to go to this school and your parents, blah, blah. No, I'm very authentic. Like, I have been through the fire. And I think that's something powerful to understand. You know, there's that quote, when you're going through hell, keep going. So I'm not afraid of it anymore. And on top of that, I've been able to experience the freedom that high level discipline gives you, right? I'm all in, like, and I feed off of that. When I'm punched in the face, I'm like, okay, cool. Something good's gonna come out of this.
Yes.
And it does not stop.
Yes.
You know, the higher you play, the bigger the punches come. The only difference now is that I'm prepared for it. Whereas in my first 10 years, it was like, really? Like this again? Whereas now I'm like, okay, cool. Like, something goes off in my brain when it's high level, difficulty, pain, resistance, frustration. Something good's about to come. Yes. And that's become my superpower. You know, the worst possible thing, the worst possible situation, I can sit with it and say, God, I don't totally know why we're going through this, but I know that is for a reason, and I'm thankful for it. So you can fight, right? But the question is, can you really practice acceptance in the fight? Because if you're in the fight and dealing with resistance, saying, why am I here? Why do I have to go through this? And being a victim, you're going to lose the fight. Just fighting is not enough. The key to winning the fight is to understand that I'm here for a reason. I welcome this. I will overcome this. I'm powerful in this. I've got what it takes. You know, it's just work is not enough. Everybody's working. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's doing hard work. The question is your energy at a high enough level to win? And if you aren't able to take the punch and know that it's part of the process, you're not going to win. You're just going to work really hard and not get any good results. I'm here to win.
You end up standing in place, you know, when you kind of keep fighting that resistance, you know.
I see that. I run a brokerage with 80 people. Why are 10% of them winning at a high level and 90% are kind of going through the motions and not getting results? Everybody's doing the same thing. They're knocking the same scripts. I don't teach these guys scripts that I don't teach these guys too. Everybody's using the same tools. What's the difference? Totally energy and intention. It's energy, it's intention, it's heart and soul. And this is a service business where people are first going to hear your energy before you say a single word. So the question is, what is your energy saying?
What is your energy saying? That's a great question. Now, this is so ingrained in you. It is just who you are. The way you instantly reframe something. When something bad happens, you're like, you know, this is happening for me. You kind of get excited. And I am that same way. But for many people, that's hard to do. They can't wrap their head around that. And it goes back, to me, it's like it takes years of practicing that, proactively, like rewiring your mind and practicing those habits for when you actually need them. So I'm assuming you were not always like that back a long, long time ago when you were trying to heat your house with your oven. It's like did you always have this nature about you, that everything that was happening was for a good reason and you had this mindset that...
No, I used to have a really bad attitude.
I had a feeling.
I used to have a really bad attitude. I think I was super rebellious. You know, my dad went to prison at a really early age, and I got pretty heavy into just getting faded, you know, just drink. I started drinking and partying and, you know, using drugs pretty heavily when I was 13. But I also was always very creative and ambitious. So I don't feel like I was ever, like, I knew I was meant to do something. But if I also battled doing things the right way because of my upbringing and what I saw from my dad. You know, like, I jokingly say that if I didn't do things this way and get into a life coach / real estate agent / you know, sober dad guy, I would be like running some kind of Ocean's 11. You know, I would have been a very strategic thief of some sort, like high-level diamonds, or maybe, you know, taking over a casino in some way.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm starting to get a different image of you.
No, I'm serious. Like, you got to understand, like, I visited my dad, my 6th, 7th, 8th, I think 9th, I think 10th birthday in high-level federal penitentiaries. And that frame of mind was like, okay, that's how you do things. You cut corners, you break the law, and that's how you, because my dad was still my hero.
Right.
So, you know, I had to overcome a lot of this, like, F the world mentality. I'm gonna get what's mine mentality mixed with hip hop. Like, hip hop and rap and, like, skateboarding, there's a reason why those stickers say skateboarding is not a crime. It was like my era of this early 90s mentality was very like, F the world, get what's yours, and that's it. I wasn't a positive life coach guy, you know? And so that was a process for me to kind of change. And I don't think I really started to change until I lost my best friend and my dad in the same 6 months. And even still, I didn't totally change. That was 2012. That was a very pivotal moment where the big wake-up call in that moment was that life is really short. Life is really short. And I became a father at 17. So at a very early age, I realized this is not about me. This is when that happened, this was my opportunity to be the kind of dad that I never really had. Like, I love my dad, but, like, you're not supposed to do coke with your kids when they're 14 years old. That's how I grew up. So, you know, I was like, I want to be a different kind of dad, but I still had all this other energy that I had to work through. And so it was my training of Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, life coaches, Angie Wisdom, Landmark Education, Tony Robbins, to figure out why I am the way that I am and who do I really want to be. And I think if you're willing to dig deep into your roots and your soil and who you are, I think the most powerful way to operate is to really try to find a way to give yourself a blank canvas. Don't bring any of your past. Don't bring any of it, right? And don't bring any of your future even, right? In terms of the creative process, just be present and go to your spirit and go to your soil. And if you go to your spirit, forget the past, forget the present, forget the future, forget even anything besides what's in your heart, your mind, your soul. What you realize, if you can give yourself a blank canvas of it all, is that anything is possible.
Absolutely.
So who am I? Well, you are whoever you say you are. When you're bringing nothing to the conversation, meaning no bad, no good, nothing, everything is possible. But you have to be able to just, let me quiet all this noise and let me go to this blank space. What am I passionate about? What's my gift? What's my why? And when you can really create from this space of nothingness, everything becomes possible. And so that's been a long journey. I'm 41 now, and I'm still going through these emotions.
Absolutely. I mean, I even recall not too long ago some of the conversations that we had, and we can cut this out if you don't want to share it. But, you know, like even what you just said, like you have this mentality of like F the world type of thing. I think there was even part of that as you're kind of going through your career in real estate, right? With other agents or with what it's supposed to look like and who's capable of what, and you really trying to make your name and mark in the industry.
Yeah, it's, I don't think it ever goes away, right? This kind of, I'm going, and everybody's thing is different, right? Mine is, I'll show you.
Yes.
And so, where does that come from? Well, that comes from a 4 to 5-year-old kid who feels worthless because of this situation, this thing my dad said. And so I carry this, I'll show you, you know what I mean? And on top of that, there's this feeling of I'm worthless. So you have this 4 or 5-year-old version of Kev who feels worthless and who's trying to like fight the world. And I'm showing up with this like, chip on my shoulder, right? Mixed with wanting to make a difference, and it's blah, 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 blah. But as it never, some of those energies that aren't necessary, I don't know if they ever totally go away, right? Like yesterday, a guy that I've mentored since 2015, who his #1 business partner that they've been able to create this whole thing together that I introduced him to, makes the decision to go to this other brokerage for whatever this other brokerage offers. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
So a big part of me wants to give him a hug, which I do, because that's what I need to do as a leader. Man, I wish you the best. Shoot me a text if you ever need anything. Behind the scenes, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? Why do I do any of this? Why do I help anybody? And I let 1 out of 100 mess up my whole flow. And I gotta catch myself. I can't control it all. This is gonna happen. And so it's a constant battle every single day. But I think the only way to avoid breakdown and upset and frustration is to stop playing.
Yes, to play super safe.
Yeah,
you know, absolutely not. But I think you bring up a really good point for people to understand is that sometimes those old stories and beliefs and part of who you are as a child, they don't ever go away. They still pop up, they rear their ugly head, but it's about how you address them. You know, and I remember we'd have conversations about, does something upset you for days? Or does it now upset you for hours? And now maybe it's like, it crossed my mind for a minute. Yes.
At the most.
And it's like,
I can't give this
what's it going to cost you? I like to tell people all the time, you know, figure out what your hourly rate is, right? What is your hourly rate that you make? And then decide $100,000. How long are you going to, what is it going to cost you? You're going to let this situation, this problem, this person's opinion going to take up your capacity for 10 minutes? Well, calculate what that's going to be for your 100,000, right? Realtor math, what is that? 20? I don't know. However many $1,000 that is, right? And you're going to let it take up a whole day, And we don't look at it in terms of that, but protecting that mindset is huge.
It's huge. And I think that is a very powerful exercise, and I do go through that exercise, and it helps me get over stuff quick. Especially when you don't want that person or that situation to cause you any more of a loss. I say it's a stop loss. Put it in. If they already cost you this. Doesn't mean it's easy.
Not at all.
I wrote a big check last week for an error in communication that occurred. I did a magical deal. Magical.
Of course.
Like, oh my goodness. And there was an error in communication that was not something that I did. I have people who assist, and I didn't have to do this, but to fix the situation, I had a decision. Okay, either these guys who don't totally understand the process are going to try to battle this out with me, which I'm going to win, and or I just cut a check right now for $44,000. And it took 5 minutes to make that decision. Because the battle of this, even though it's going to take 2 weeks at the most to make it very clear, like, there's two things that are that it's gonna cost me. Number one, it's gonna cost me energy in the tune of probably 10 hours. So if I'm worth $100,000 an hour, that 10 hours right there is $1 million.
Right.
The bigger risk is the feeling of the relationship and the opportunity that I have to show somebody how much I actually care. And yeah, I care about them more than $44,000. So it hurts. I don't want to do that. I was planning on, giving that to my family.
Well, you're not going to Hawaii this summer, so.
Yeah, that's right. So
but yeah, it's calculating that, understanding. Yeah. I want to ask you about community, because especially with everything you've shared and people know your story of your childhood and all of that, you have done a lot to integrate yourself into the community. You guys have case runs. You get people to do Ironman with you. You do events at your place, and it's always so much community.
Yeah.
What is the why behind that for you?
I feed off of that. Like I feed off of hanging out with people that I have the same vibration with, right? Community is common unity. So I don't hang out at the yacht club. I don't hang out at like these different kind of like meetup things that other people do. I don't, maybe I should though. Maybe I should, maybe if I got the invite, I would. No.
They're all online.
I just for some reason when I go to certain places, I don't feel, and maybe that's my own deal. I like to hang out with people who are going through something, right? And typically these certain places that you go to, like these high level, powerful networking events, like, my goodness, like the Chalk event is a powerful place to be. And a lot of agents, they put themselves in this opportunity to be at the Chalk charity thing. When I get the invite to go there, I'm like, shoot, I'm gonna hang around a bunch of like high level people who are gonna be donating a bunch of money. How much money am I gonna be able to donate? For whatever reason, I vibe more with this community of people who are like thriving to overcome something. And that's just kind of what I notice about when I throw and host these events. I'm like, I can feel a powerful struggle up in here, but I like it. And I like to provide insight and motivation and heart and love and soul to people who, whether you're struggling or you've made it but you're still struggling, I like to be in this environment with people who are really trying to overcome something.
It's your story. I mean, you've been through that. So the most passionate thing that you can share is what you've lived.
Yeah.
And so you're inspiring. And speaking of that, you kind of did a pretty big speaking event not too long ago in Vegas.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, and that's a perfect example of like, those are a bunch of winners,
right?
But they're also trying to figure out the market and I felt what that dude Neil was up to really quick.
Yeah.
And so I said yes to that pretty quickly. I could just sense it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a similar tribe.
Yes.
I like this.
Yes.
I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I really rocked my talk, to be honest. And then, so I was the last guy before the last guy. I got to open up for Jesse Itzler.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
And I didn't think that I rocked my talk after Jesse's.
Really? No. Oh, you mean you felt good about it then after you saw Jesse?
Killed it. Yeah. That was one of the, and I've seen Tony Robbins in small groups. Like I've done the Firewalk stuff and I love Tony Robbins. But the way that Jesse Itzler did his talk was one of the coolest things I'd seen.
Better to precede it than to follow it, I think.
For sure.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
See, find the gratitude, find the bright side of it.
Yeah, I would have been like, no, I can't do this.
But that's pretty special to be in that group of people and speaking, one step after or one step before something like that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
How was that for you because you motivate and you inspire and you speak, but that was probably a little bit of a different platform for you.
Yeah, it was different because I'm used to just being on a panel and Neil asked me to do a talk.
Right.
And so I really enjoyed it because I'm also really competitive. And so there's all these speakers and I'm watching the way everybody's impacting people. And I'm like, really? I'm gonna light it up more than that person. And so it was different though, because I wrote out 9 pages of what I was gonna say. And then we go to the event in the morning or the day before. KP and I go over there the day before, and there's these giant TV screens on each, like huge. And I think there's like 3,000 or 4,000 people there. So there's these huge screens. And then I'm watching somebody else, and I'm realizing that they're all putting slideshows up. And I didn't have a slideshow ready.
Oh.
And I was like, oh crap. So I go back to my room, and we come up with 25 photos that are going to go in line with my talk.
No.
The night before. So then the challenge that I'm dealing with is this clicker, and I'm like, now I really have to stay on. And so there were pluses and things that I need to get better at. But the bottom line is that, like, it definitely put me in this space where I feel like I want to do more of that work. Like, I'm really, really excited about doing more things, and like just the opportunity you can have to impact has, you know, I go through these motions where I don't want to do any of that stuff. I got one focus right now, and it's being a real estate agent. And I've been in that mode since 2019. So I stopped doing my podcast in 2019, and I went full-blown realtor mode. I wasn't even focused until like a year and a half ago on case. Even though I'm the sole owner of the brokerage, I'm like, you guys just let me know when you need me to figure out how to run a brokerage. But you know those things better than me. I'm gonna do my part just being a real estate agent. That's gonna be my contribution to case. And about a year and a half ago, I was like, all right, I'm able to put in some time on building the brokerage.
Right.
And then 2 months ago, I actually took out 12 hours of something else that I'm doing, and I implemented that also back into the brokerage. And so, you know, and then on top of all that, I'm like, man, I also am in a space where I love my real estate business that I'm having. I love the brokerage. I love all these things. And I'm actually missing speaking. I'm actually missing the podcast. So we just recorded the 3rd podcast of our podcast being back on. Amazing. Called In Case You Missed It. So look up that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and so yeah, you know, always got kind of going through different seasons of how am I feeling? What can I add? What can I shift? What do I need to take out that doesn't fit?
I love that you brought that up. That was one of our first conversations back in 2019. Was I remember our first meeting, and I said, okay, what do you want? And you're like, I want to write a book, and I want this company, and I want this much in sales, and I want this podcast. And you had all of these things that, you know, I said, we've got too many buckets, right? We've got all these little trees, and you can't possibly grow them all at the same time. And it's when you really decided, okay, it's the sales. I'm going to be an agent, and that's my focus. And I try to kind of tell people how important that is of having a singular focus in the beginning. It doesn't mean you can't do multiple things later, but in the beginning, you have to have that singular focus if you want to really grow it.
100%. Absolutely. Chase 2 rabbits, you're going to lose them both. And I was chasing 5 rabbits. And occasionally catching a good one here and there, but you know, my breakthrough year in real estate was 2015. Like, you make $1 million bucks, that's a pretty big deal as a real estate agent. And for me, that was the year 2015. I stayed there. I stayed at the practically a 10% difference, plus or minus 15, 16, 17, 18. 4 years. So, and I had skyrocketed the 4 years before that. I started at literally nothing. I had 1,800 bucks in my name at the start of 2012. And I went 275, 310, 725, $1 million. And then, so it went like this, and then it stayed like this, 15, 16, 17, 18. And so that was when we started coaching, and I'm like, I want to break through. I don't want to just get to 60, I want to get to 100. So our first full year working together was 2020. And we had a very clear goal. close $100 million.
Yes, yeah.
Of all the best years to do this, sure. And my previous best year was the year before, which was 60 million. So I stayed at like 45 to 55 million or so in volume for 4 years. 2019 was 60. The question was, can we see a 40% increase in this COVID year, which we didn't know we were embarking on?
Right.
Yeah.
That was a big surprise.
Yep.
Yeah. So in doing all of this and in everything that you've accomplished, I know there are some things that you do on a daily basis. I mean, you did Ironman recently.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So I want you to kind of shed a little light on that, the importance of doing these hard things and what you do on a daily basis to stay your best self, because you truly can't give your best self unless you are. So what does that look like for you and the purpose of Ironman too?
So what I was really looking for from the Ironman, which was two things, structure and a six-pack. So I got the structure, did not get the six-pack.
What?
Because six-packs occur in the kitchen.
They don't happen with gummy bears and Skittles.
Yeah. So I highly encourage people to develop a structure that's going to cause you to break through. It's about structure, right? Like when I don't have my sessions with DB, who's basically David Goggins, I'm going to weasel out. Left to my own free will, I'm going to play small. And that's human nature, right? Like if you are this superhero without any structure and without a coach and you're just a superhero, you're just a Navy SEAL Marine, that's incredible. Good for you. I'm not. I need structure and accountability. So what I really like the most about the Ironman is this is not a marathon. And a marathon's a pretty big deal. But it is a 2.1 mile swim, then a 112 mile bike ride, and then after all that, a full marathon. This is not something you can kind of do.
Right.
So I signed up for it, one, because dudes in my office were doing it. And then the big reason why was obviously because of Tim. You know, my best friend, Tim Kruger, passed away in January 1st, 2022. And he did an Ironman. And then the kicker was that my best friend, Jonas, who passed away in 2011, the actual date was Jonas's birthday. So I was like, damn.
All the signs.
I gotta do this. I knew how to swim, but I'd never taken like that level swim lessons. And so anyways, it was the structure. And so I would encourage people to do something very difficult that you don't think you could do like at least once a year. Jesse Itzler talks about this. You know, what is one day that you could dedicate to just getting your ass kicked? I operate from this place very often, and am I gonna die? That as like dark, morbid, whatever it might sound, like that's just the reality. People show up like they're gonna have a bunch more at-bats. I don't know if today's my last at-bat. So I don't waste time, because that is my biggest driver. Is I don't want to live with any regret. I don't want to leave anything out on the table. Like I want to give it my all, because my biggest driving force was losing Jonas and losing my dad. And beginning of January 2012, my dad and I have the same name, seeing my name on funeral papers. That's my driving force. And that's just reality. So people hang out, they're hanging out like they know they're gonna have tomorrow. Really? You know for sure you got tomorrow? I don't know that. So today, every day, if you see me, and I'm giving it my all. And on Sunday, when I don't work, I'm giving it my all to be present with the kids. What are we doing? Date night tonight. I'm going to Disneyland tonight with my wife. We don't miss date night. So these 3.5, 4 hours we have, I'm giving it my all, because I don't know if I for sure have tomorrow. And that is my driving force. And it sounds dark, but like, is it really? It's just reality. And so when you can have like a subconscious stopwatch and that's very real to you, which for me, it's very present. To me, it motivates me to make sure that who I'm being and what I'm leaving is something that I'm proud of, something that's remarkable, something that uplifts and makes a difference, something that causes a ripple effect of the energy that I want to leave here, you know, which is love, inspiration, encouragement, determination. And we all have that opportunity. So those are my driving forces that keep me going.
And I'm glad you brought up kind of the date night and the time with the kids, because balance, you know, to anyone who's observing you on Instagram, they're like, does that guy ever not work? Yeah. You know, is there balance there? I don't want to work that much, but you really do have it. And you're mentioning these date nights and time with the kids. In those moments, do you actually bring that thought into your conscious mind of, I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow? Like, do you have to be very conscious about that, or is it so ingrained in you now?
It's ingrained. It's like it all, something set it off. And that setting off process started when I lost Jonas, which was Memorial Day 2011. Went down a very dark rabbit hole, and then losing my dad in January 2012. That started to set it off. And, you know, and then things continue to happen. We all lose people. Losing Tim, it's like you get these reminders of like, man, life is really short. Yeah. And so I think it's yes, there is the craft of the work, but it's also the pause. If you pause and you sit quietly and you get intentional about who you're being and how you're operating, that's very powerful. You know, the question you want to ask yourself is, am I playing at the best of my ability? Am I giving it all I've got? Right? And then shut it off and be present with the next thing. You know, it's just, I want to know that I'm giving it everything that I had.
And that takes work, that whole present thing. I have that conversation with everybody. I remember we had it years ago, and it was like, do you put your phone in a drawer? Like, how do you actually get present?
And I'm not perfect, right? I have a very important deal, and I love my work. So that's where it's also, it's like, it's when I'm with my kids and they're acting crazy, I'm like, do you guys know that I could be at work right now and I would not have to deal with this, right? Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I will go back to work. And it's funny, I love my kids, but it's tough.
They over like, see you later, or they shape up?
No, my kids are amazing, but you know, yeah, it can be tough sometimes. It's like, you guys, I did not stop working and load up this RV and drive you guys to the zoo to hear you guys bicker and fight. Like, you need to stop right now. I will turn this car around.
Have you ever stopped the car? Have you ever turned it around?
I don't know if I've ever turned it, no.
Okay, so that's what I want to ask you. You are such a man of like, discipline and punishment as far as like for yourself. Every team meeting, like, you're driven by that pain, right? Here's the consequence if something, you know, if I don't do.
Tattoo is a bad that I lost for not making enough appointments in a week.
That's not as bad as somebody else's tattoo on your team.
He's got that thing lasered off though. It's almost
we
gone.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
But everyone operates either by pain or potential pleasure. You tend to operate from that pain because of the childhood you had and the pain that you experienced. So I'm curious, you know, even when it comes to discipline, does that show up in your personal life for your family?
With the kiddos?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaizen owes me $10. He didn't throw out the trash this morning. He owes me $10.
So he's paying up.
He's paying up.
That $10 is coming back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With the kids, it's like, it's definitely more difficult for me to discipline my daughters.
Sure.
You know, with the boys, like, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like, it's on, right? But with my daughters, like, my daughter could like light the house on fire, and I'd be like, come here.
Yeah.
Why did you do this? You know, I just feel like it's different. Like with the boys, it's, you know, I'm gonna beat you into greatness. Yeah. With the girls, I'm gonna love you into greatness. So it's understanding and it's learning, and you know, last night I got frustrated with myself because I have a deal that we're close to putting together. It's like this $15 million deal, and we're writing offers and we're doing all this stuff. And at 6 o'clock, when it was time to shut it off, like, we're sending the offers. And at 8 o'clock, they have questions about the offers. I'm on a call at 9:45 when I should be helping with the dishes and getting Eliana ready for bed. And I'm outside putting this deal together. And I'm like, damn it. You know, so constantly trying to figure it out. Like, I'm definitely not perfect.
Sure.
Right? If there is one thing I am trying to do more, it is shut it off sooner so I could be more present with the kids, for sure. But I'm home for dinner every night, that's for sure. And I shut it off. I go into creative mode on Saturday mornings. Alana always will laugh at me because she knows I'm a little sneaky about it, where like 8 o'clock, she's like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I got to meet up with KP. We're going into recording. She goes, oh, where are you meeting? And I'm going to a coffee shop, and there's like a full-blown car show.
Yes, I know your tricks.
Yes, but that is my creative outlet. That's what I'm doing. And, you know, to her, it's just like a big party. And it is helpful, right? To get, so that is also called being a little selfish with what you need to do to take care of yourself. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I have 3 to 4 hours where I should just be straight up with my wife and say, yeah, I'm going to go to a car show because that inspires me and I like looking at cars. And I'm also, KP's also going to be there and we're going to chip away. But the reality is KP and I usually chip away for like 18 minutes. The rest is we're connecting, we're doing, you know.
But it's all part of it. Yeah.
So.
And it is important, you know, going back to those pieces that I said, you know, what do you do, you know, to sharpen your axe every day? And that alone time, or the time that you need to be creative, whatever it is, those values have to show up.
Yeah, the discipline with the morning routine for me is really crucial. And I'm not perfect at it, but I think I'm pretty on point, like 85-90% of the time. Phone goes off, you know, 4:47. I always hang out at 4:47 or 4:44, but it's generally one of those two times. And then bam, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have a trainer who comes to my house, and I've been in this rhythm for well over a decade. You know, trainer comes Tuesday, Thursday, I box. I get after the workout, I get into the cold plunge, which I'm in major cold plunge mode right now. I have to get into that thing. I'm on like 3 weeks of it. Oh, wow. Yeah. And then after that, I'm able to, like, I'm up. After all those things are done, it's about 6:30-ish, and all those things had been, that's heavy, mind, body, soul. And then I'm able to be present and coffee with Alana, right? Then the kiddos are starting to wake up. And then even the first hour and a half at Case, I'm not going straight into calls and emails. I'm going straight into mindset and skills. So by 9:15 every single day, the amount of axe sharpening, we're talking 4+ hours of just getting ready. Just getting ready. So I think most people, they get up and they just go straight into it. And I'm like, that's crazy. It is. That's crazy.
It's something I try to change for anyone I talk to, because if you wake up in just enough time to do just what you have to do to get out the door, I mean, you've set yourself up for a very reactive day and unfulfilling.
No way.
You know, that's the first flip right there.
Yeah, is get to a 7+, right? Everything that I do, from the food that I eat to the way I evaluate cars to the way I evaluate everything, is on a scale of 1 to 10, and I try to keep everything 7+. If it's below, if a restaurant is a 6 or below, I'm not going back there. I need a minimum of a 7, and myself, I need to be at a minimum at a 7. At an 8.5, 9, I am attracting incoming calls asking me to list their house. But below a 7, ooh, that's a little scary. I'm a little too close to a 6, and I have my little hacks of how to get back to the 7.
Yes. So anyone listening, it's like, That is self-awareness, hardcore self-awareness right there. When you are so in tune with how you're feeling, what you're doing, what level you're at, and then that optimization, empowerment to know that this is exactly what I need to get to. That 7, that 8, that 9, whatever it may need to be. And it's self-mastery.
And it could be something silly. It could be something totally silly. Like I reference sometimes this time, Alana and I are in the car and she's driving, which is rare, first of all, but my window's halfway down and she rolls my window up. And all of a sudden in my mind, I'm like, whoa, what was that all about? And it just something that simple. She's trying to control me. I was enjoying the window being down. I was feeling the breeze. And this little tiny stupid thing has now got me in my stories. And you have to catch it and clean that up like ASAP.
It is so important.
It's like when you look at it, comments, you get like 50 awesome comments on something. And then one person says this thing, and that stupid little thing from this stranger who has 0 followers and it's a private account. So clearly it's just some weird account that they made to talk crap on people. That's the thing you're going to let bug you?
Not at $100,000 an hour. No way. So you've got a lot of great things going on. It's always fun to watch your progression and what you're doing.
Thanks.
But and you're definitely stepping up as far as sharpening that axe and doing hard things. I want to know, like, what's on the horizon? What's the big picture now for you?
So the big picture right now is a couple things. I mean, it depends on what category we're at. But if we're in the category of business, it's like, I remember in 2020 when we were heavy in coaching, it was like this dream of like, I want to get to the 100 and then it's the 400, right? So now we can see, feel, hear, taste that 400. My team did 265 million last year. We finished number 4 in all of Orange County. For the top 100 agents, this is people doing at least 100 million. I ranked number 1, pat myself on the back. I'm just gonna flex here. No, I ranked number 1 in highest list to sales price ratio. So there's these things that are occurring where it's like, you work so hard, you visualize it, you see it, and now I'm like, oh dang, that 400 mil is real. So we have a very clear $1 billion plan in 2027 of like specifically what I've got to do to achieve $1 billion in closed volume for my team.
Love it.
What that is making possible, like when you reach a certain thing, all this other stuff becomes available. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So within Case, there is this $10 billion goal that I can see, feel, hear, taste. I know how this $10 billion thing is going to manifest. And so playing around with that and having the evaluation of a $100 million company is something I'm really excited about. So I like numbers. Am I going to sell the company? I don't think so. Maybe. But it's a measure, right? And the $100 million evaluation with a $10 billion company creates a possibility for all these other things to occur. So I'm hanging out in that space. And then Case home goods we're playing around with a lot, furniture and candles and the plates and this whole line of home goods we're really excited about. The book, and finally reigniting Project Mindset, which is a company I started in 2008. And I've just dabbled with it over the years. And just recently I'm like, okay, time to turn that one up. That has been just kind of sitting there. It's a part of me, but the business side of it has just been kind of sitting there for a couple years. So officially producing the book, which my book is my story mixed with each chapter being little tips and life hacks. So super excited about that. What else are we working on?
Does there need to be any more? There's a lot of big things.
It's lots of stuff happening at our house in Keven Stirdivant. So super excited about that. And just enjoying the family, enjoying the kiddos.
I see you doing more of that. I like it.
Yeah, join the kiddos.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to kind of wrap up with, I always ask everyone, you know, this is about sharing wisdom. Obviously, you have a tremendous amount of it, and you've already given us so much, but what is like the one you live by, the most important piece of wisdom that you've ever received or that you've even found on your own that just constantly sticks with you?
I say my personal motto, which is just show up, do my best, let God do the rest. And most importantly, enjoy the process, right? Enjoy the process, love the process. The process is not always fun. So you got to be able to dance through the destruction sometimes, like, and know that struggle you're going through is making you stronger. It's making you better. Run towards it, go for it, and then make sure you run through it. And just remember that you don't know when your time's up, and operate from that place so that you got no regrets and you're giving it all you've got. You're emptying the tank every single day. And most importantly, you're filling it up every single morning. That's key right there. I would say filling up the tank is more important than emptying the tank. Empty it, give it all you got. Balance all those different equities, mind, body, soul, family, friends, business, and money. Remember that if it's important to you, you can talk about it, but the way I'm really gonna know if your spouse, kids, prospecting, health is important to you is if I look at your schedule. If it's important to you, it's in your schedule. If not, you're just talking. So empty the tank in all the equities and make sure you fill it up every morning too. Love it. So much good wisdom. Well, thank you, Keven. We did it. Happy to have you here. Thank you. Guys, follow, everyone probably already follows you, but Keven Stirdivant. What is the Instagram? Is it Kevion? Kevion, yes. People always like, is your name Kevion or Kevin? That's how I always know, like when people ask me about you, if they say Keven, or they're like, some guy that you talked to, Kevion, and I'm like, I love that. Yeah, that was a nickname that actually Jonas created in like 99, 2000. So anytime somebody calls me by that, I do love it because it brings me back. Yes, to that. Yes. Yeah, so either one. Well, follow Keven along. He has an amazing brand at Case Real Estate that is always so fun to watch, all the events that they're doing and what they're building out there. So thanks again for coming. Thank you.